5 people stood in chest-deep water, watching a husband drown. His wife, her 2 boyfriends, their friends. Not one tried to save him. Later, one would say, "We thought he was joking." But when his wife collected $1 million in life insurance, nobody was laughing anymore. A sunny holiday retreat. Laughter, splashing, friends relaxing by a river. But beneath the surface? Secrets. Dark, tangled secrets. Because when one man vanished beneath the water that day, he wasn't just drowning in a river. He was drowning in a web of lies. His wife watched. Her 2 boyfriends watched. And as the truth crawled out, investigators faced a chilling question. Was this a tragic accident or a perfectly staged murder? But to understand how this horror unfolded, we need to rewind to the players in this tragedy, to a vacation like no other. June 2019, Gapyeong, South Korea, a place of lush forests and glassy rivers. Picture postcard perfect. And into this paradise walked 6 people. Our victim, a 40-year-old husband. We'll call him Mr. Park. With him, his wife, her 2 closest friends, and 2 men. Here's where the story twists and darkens. Both men, they weren't just friends. They were the wife's boyfriends. And Mr. Park knew. This wasn't some hidden affair. It was an open arrangement. An open marriage playing out under the summer sun. Think about that. A husband, a wife, her 2 lovers, all sharing a holiday, all smiling for the camera. No secrets. At least, that's what they claimed. A polyamorous getaway where everyone was happy, where everything was consensual. But beneath the surface? Questions. Why bring both boyfriends? Why invite friends to witness this intensely private dynamic? Was it confidence or something more calculated? And Mr. Park, what did he really feel watching his wife laugh with 2 other men? This was the powder keg. These were the players. And they were all about to step into the river together, where the smiles would end and the drowning would begin. We left off with the players, a husband, his wife, her 2 lovers, and their friends, all on a holiday in paradise, all stepping into the river that day. Now we step into the water with them. June 4th, 2019, mid-afternoon. The Gapyeong River. Sunlight dappling through the trees. The water here is gentle, shallow near the banks, rising slowly to chest height further out. No rapids, no hidden whirlpools. Just calm. The kind of calm that makes you close your eyes and tilt your face to the sky. The group settles on the bank. Laughter. The clink of bottles. Someone's brought drinks. The mood is light, relaxed. The kind of day you take pictures of. Mr. Park, the husband, decides to wade in. He's not a strong swimmer, but he doesn't need to be. The water's barely moving. It's warm, welcoming. He walks out slowly, deeper and deeper, until he's standing chest deep, maybe 15, 20 meters from the bank, from his wife, from her boyfriends, from their friends. Minutes pass, peaceful minutes. Then something changes. Mr. Park's body language shifts. He's not relaxing anymore. He's jerking, twisting. His head dips below the surface, comes back up, gasps, then under again. His arms aren't waving wildly. They're thrashing close to his body, like he's fighting something no one else can see. Here's the first chilling detail: silence. No scream rips through the air. No desperate shout for help. Just frantic splashing. But splashing that isn't loud enough. Not loud enough to cut through the casual chatter on the bank, just meters away. Not loud enough to startle 5 adults sitting right there, watching him. Think about that. A man is drowning, visibly struggling, gasping for air, just meters from 5 people who know him, love him, live with him, and nobody reacts. Not immediately. How long did this go on? Minutes? Seconds that felt like hours? The reports are vague, but the picture is clear. Mr. Park fights silently, alone, until finally, someone notices. One of the group, maybe boyfriend 1, maybe a friend. They see him. They call out. Now they move. They wade out. They reach him. They pull his limp body back to the bank. He's not breathing. His lips are blue, unresponsive. Panic sets in. Real panic. Now, someone starts CPR. Chest compressions. Desperate breaths forced into his lungs. They're trying. You can imagine the scene, kneeling on the riverbank, wet clothes clinging, hands pressing hard on his chest, willing him back. But it's too late. Or was it already too late the moment he went under? CPR fails. No pulse returns. The life leaves him there on the sunny bank of that beautiful river. surrounded by the very people who were supposed to be enjoying a holiday with him. His last moments on Earth? Witnessed. By his wife. By the two men sharing her bed. By their friends. His final breaths seen, but not understood. Or not acted upon. The police arrive. Sirens cut through the forest calm. They find a scene of shock and grief. Or what looks like shock and grief. The story they're told is straightforward. Unanimous. A sudden. Silent drowning. A tragic accident in calm water. We didn't realize he was in trouble until it was too late. But the river whispered secrets the group didn't. The evidence started talking. Quietly. At first. Then screaming. Because what the five described, what they claimed happened, physics said it was impossible. First, the water. Investigators measured it. Tested it. Where Mr. Park was struggling. Chest deep. For an adult man. Calm. Barely a current. No sudden drop-offs. No hidden snags found. Drowning here. Silently. Without some external factor? Unlikely. Extremely unlikely. A man doesn't just silently drown in placid, waist-to-chest deep water unless something is very wrong. Was he held under? Was he too weak to cry out? Drugged. Second, the distance. Mere meters. 15. 20. Not a football field. Close enough to see facial expressions. Close enough to hear normal conversation. Close enough to hear splashing. Gasps. Yet 5 people heard nothing alarming? Saw nothing alarming? Until it was conveniently too late? Their stories matched perfectly. Too perfectly. Like lines rehearsed before the curtain rose. Third, the silence. Drowning isn't usually the dramatic, flailing spectacle you see in movies. It's often terrifyingly quiet, but not invisible. Not to people that close. Heads bob under. Arms might thrash near the surface or push down trying to find leverage. There are signs. Signs trained lifeguards know. Signs even untrained people usually recognize as something's wrong, especially when it's someone they know. Yet, all 5 missed every single sign until the very last moment. The official police report would eventually call it an accident. But the lead investigators? They walked away uneasy. The evidence whispered one word. Over and over. Impossible. The water was too calm. The group was too close. The reaction was too slow. The stories were too identical. This wasn't just a drowning. It was a drowning surrounded by a wall of silence. A wall built by 5 people who watched a man die and did nothing until the very last. Useless seconds. What happened in those silent moments while Mr. Park fought for air? What were the 5 really doing? Talking? Laughing? Watching him struggle and choosing not to see? Or worse, waiting? The river doesn't answer. It just flows on. But the questions? They drag you under, deeper than any water. The police wrote it off as a tragic accident. A man drowned. It happens. But the facts, they didn't sit right. Like a puzzle where the pieces almost fit. But the picture they made was wrong. Deeply wrong. So let's look at the cracks. The red flags that turned this accident into a chilling question mark. Red flag number 1, the river itself. Imagine that water again. Chest deep. Gentle as a bath. No undercurrents pulling you down. No hidden holes swallowing you whole. Investigators measured it. Tested the flow. It was peaceful. Safe. Mr. Park wasn't an Olympic swimmer. Sure, but he didn't need to be. You could stand there all day. Water lapping at your shoulders. Perfectly stable. So how does a healthy 40-year-old man silently drown in water he can literally stand in? How does he vanish without a single cry for help? It makes no sense. Unless something else pulled him under. Or held him there. Red flag number 2, the witnesses. All 5 of them. They gave statements. Separately. To different officers. And yet, their stories matched. Word for word. Beat for beat. He just went under quietly. We didn't realize it was serious. It happened so fast. Too perfect. Too identical. Like they'd all memorized the same script. Real witnesses? They get details wrong. They remember things differently. They contradict each other. That's human. This felt rehearsed. Coordinated. A story polished smooth before the police even arrived. What were they hiding behind those perfectly matching tales? Red flag number 3, the wife. Her calm. When the police arrived, they found a scene of chaos. Friends distraught. Tears. Panic etched on faces. But the wife, Mrs. Park? She was calm. Eerily calm. Cool. Collected. While others sobbed. She answered questions with a chilling detachment. Like she was reporting on the weather. Not the death of her husband right in front of her. Now, people grieve differently. shocked as strange things. But this wasn't numb silence. This was control. It raised every hair on the investigators' necks. Why wasn't she shattered? Why wasn't she screaming? So they dug deeper, past the calm water, past the perfect stories, past the eerie calm. And what they found? A nest of tension. A powder keg disguised as a happy polyamorous holiday. First, jealousy. It wasn't all sunshine and open hearts. Sources close to the group whispered. Boyfriend one was volatile, possessive. He didn't like sharing the wife's attention, especially with Mr. Park. The husband. Arguments happened. Quiet. Sharp words exchanged. Glances that could cut. Was there resentment bubbling under that river's surface? Second, financial strain. Mr. Park had money. He was the main provider. The wife. She lived comfortably, but relied on him. The boyfriends? Even more so. They enjoyed a lifestyle funded by the man they watched drown. What happens if that funding stopped? What if Mr. Park decided the open marriage experiment was over? What if he wanted a divorce? Cut them off. Suddenly, 3 people stood to lose a lot. Security, comfort, a way of life. And then the bombshell, the life insurance policy. Mr. Park had one, a big one, a massive one, worth over $1 million. And the sole beneficiary? His wife, Mrs. Park, the same eerily calm woman who watched him struggle silently in chest-deep water alongside her 2 lovers. The payout wasn't just money. It was freedom, financial security, for her, and potentially, for the boyfriend she relied on. So let's put these red flags together. A drowning that physically shouldn't have happened in calm. Shallow water. 5 witnesses with stories too identical to be believable. A wife whose reaction wasn't grief, it was unsettling calm. A group dynamic riddled with jealousy and financial dependence. And $1 million life insurance policy landing squarely in the lap of the person who benefited most from his death. The police had their accident, but the evidence? It painted a different picture. A picture of motive, opportunity, and a chillingly perfect alibi, a calm river. 5 coordinated witnesses, and a death certificate that said drowning. Was it the perfect accident or the perfect crime? The pieces fit together a little too neatly, like someone had designed them that way. The river was calm, the surface was still, but underneath, currents of suspicion began to pull. Hard. We've seen the impossible drowning, the rehearsed stories, the wife's chilling calm, the $1 million motive. But to understand why this might not be an accident, you need to understand the people in that water, especially the 2 boyfriends. Because this wasn't just a marriage. It was a tangle of need, jealousy, and cash. A triangle, or maybe a trap. Meet boyfriend number 1. Younger, hot-headed, volatile. He didn't just date the wife, he needed her. Emotionally, and crucially financially. He didn't have a steady job. His lifestyle? The apartment. The nights out. The clothes? It flowed from her. And where did she get the money? From her husband, Mr. Park. The man whose wallet funded the boyfriend who shared his wife's bed. Think about the tension there. The resentment. Every time boyfriend 1 enjoyed a meal Mr. Park paid for, slept in a home Mr. Park provided, kissed the wife Mr. Park married. The dynamic was a fuse waiting for a spark. Now, boyfriend number 2. Quiet, watchful, observant. Unlike boyfriend 1. He wasn't loud with his jealousy. He was the type who watched, who noticed everything but said little. But his dependence? Just as deep. He, too, relied on the wife for cash, for stability. He wasn't volatile, he was calculating. The quiet one in the corner who sees the whole chessboard, while boyfriend 1 might explode. Boyfriend 2, he'd remember, he'd plan, he'd wait. And the wife, Mrs. Park? She was the center, the sun they all orbited. Her husband's money paid for her life. Her boyfriend's devotion fed her, well, whatever she needed it to feed. Control, security, excitement, she held the strings. And for a while, it worked. The strange, fragile balance held. The vacation to Gapyeong was supposed to be fun, a getaway for this unconventional family. But cracks were showing. Rumors started swirling before the drowning. Whispers from friends of friends. Hints dropped in messages later found by police. Was Mr. Park getting tired of sharing his wife and his wallet? Was he hinting he wanted the open marriage to close? Were there arguments about money? About the boyfriends always being there? Always needing more? Was he finally talking about divorce? Think what that meant. If Mr. Park ended the marriage, the wife loses her financial lifeline. No more comfortable life. No more bankrolling boyfriends. Boyfriend 1 loses his meal ticket, his stability, his connection to the woman he was obsessed with. Boyfriend 2 loses the security he quietly counted on, the structure built on another man's money. 3 people. 1 problem, Mr. Park. His decision to potentially end the arrangement wasn't just emotional rejection. It was an economic earthquake. It meant ruin, humiliation, loss, for all 3. Now, remember where they were on June 4th, 2019. Chest deep in a gentle river. Mr. Park wades out alone. He's isolated, vulnerable, and who is standing right there in that same calm water, just meters away? The wife whose $1 million payday depended on his death. Boyfriend 1, the volatile one, whose entire lifestyle hung by a thread Mr. Park could cut. Boyfriend 2, the quiet observer, who stood to lose everything he silently relied on. And the 2 friends, witnesses, distractions, part of the wall of silence. 3 people with everything to lose if Mr. Park lived. 3 people with everything to gain if he didn't come out of that river. 3 people perfectly positioned in the water beside him, watching him struggle silently, not reacting, not rushing, just watching. Was it a love triangle? Or had it twisted into something darker? A kill triangle? Did the volatile boyfriend 1 snap? See his world ending and lash out under the water? A sudden push? A hold? Did the quiet, calculating boyfriend 2 see an opportunity? A way to solve their problem permanently? A silent agreement with a glance? Did the wife, so eerily calm afterwards, give a signal? A nod? Or simply do nothing when she could have acted? We know what the police officially ruled: accident. No proof of violence. No confession. But the motive was everywhere. In the bank statements, in the jealous texts, in the quiet desperation of 2 men living off another man's wife and his money, in the calm eyes of a wife watching her husband die as her lovers looked on. 3 people stood to lose everything if Mr. Park lived. 3 people stood in the water with him when he died. That's not a coincidence. That's a recipe for something sinister. The river didn't just hide currents that day. It hid secrets. And 3 of the people who knew those secrets were tangled in a web of need, greed, and survival. A web where a man's death might just have looked like the only way out. After the river, after the witnesses, after the whispers of money and jealousy, came the science, the autopsy, the final word on how Mr. Park died. The report was clear, concise, devastatingly simple. Cause of death: drowning, water in the lungs. The physical proof was undeniable. Mr. Park inhaled the river. That's how he died. But the autopsy? It couldn't tell us why, or how it really happened. Here's what the autopsy didn't find: no bruises, no marks on his neck, arms, or head, nothing to suggest he was grabbed, hit, or held violently. No signs of a struggle, no skin under his fingernails, no torn clothing, no injuries you'd expect if he fought someone off, no drugs, no alcohol beyond a little social drinking, no sedatives, no poison. His system was clean. On paper, it looked like just an accident, a tragic slip beneath the water. Case closed. But the investigators holding that report, they felt sick, because the science explained the end, but it made the beginning impossible. The autopsy didn't explain, 1, the silence. How does a man drown silently? Drowning isn't always loud splashing. But it isn't invisible. There are signs: the head tilting back, mouth open, gasping, arms pushing down, trying to find the bottom. A desperate, quiet fight for air. Yet, 5 people right there saw nothing alarming, heard nothing alarming, until it was too late. The autopsy couldn't answer why those 5 pairs of eyes saw nothing. 2, the isolation. How does a man drown alone in a group? He was meters away, not miles. Chest-deep water, easy to walk through, easy to reach. The autopsy confirmed he drowned. It didn't explain why nobody reached him until he was already gone. Why didn't his wife swim to him? Why didn't a boyfriend? A friend? Why did they let him struggle, alone? 3, the speed. The group claimed it happened so fast. But drowning isn't instant. It takes time. Seconds feel like minutes when you can't breathe. Time enough to shout. Time enough to react. Time enough for someone to move. The autopsy gave a time of death. It didn't explain why that time window felt like an eternity to Mr. Park, and a blink to the 5 people watching him die. Faced with this impossible silence, investigators had to ask the terrible questions the autopsy couldn't answer. Was he drugged? The tox screen said no. But what if it was something that vanished quickly? Something that made him weak, confused, unable to cry out? Was he pushed under and held, just for a few seconds? Long enough to inhale water? A quick, brutal act leaving no marks? Invisible violence in clear water? Or did he simply give up? Was the weight of his life, the wife, the boyfriends, the money, the humiliation too much? Did he stop fighting? Let the water take him? A silent suicide witnessed by the people who caused his despair. Each theory was a dark path. The drug theory, possible, but no proof. Just a haunting what if. The push and hold theory explains the silence. The lack of struggle marks if done carefully. The isolation. But how? With 5 people right there? Who would take that risk? And how do you coordinate silence afterwards? The give-up theory, the saddest possibility. A man broken, surrendering to the water while his wife and her lovers watched. Maybe they did think he was joking, because they couldn't imagine he'd rather die than live with them. But without evidence, without a confession, without any physical sign on his body, the case hit a wall. The official story remained accidental drowning. The file gathered dust. But outside the police station, the whispers grew louder, angrier, more persistent. Someone's lying. That became the chorus. The autopsy said drowning, but the circumstances screamed deceit. The perfect matching stories. The wife's eerie calm. The $1 million payout landing in her lap days after the accident. The 2 boyfriends who vanished afterwards, refusing to speak. The friend who later admitted, "We thought he was joking." A statement so callous it felt like a confession of guilt by indifference. The autopsy didn't find bruises, but it couldn't erase the bruises on the story. The autopsy didn't find drugs, but it couldn't explain the paralyzing silence of 5 witnesses. The autopsy confirmed he drowned, but it couldn't tell us why 5 people let it happen. The science gave a simple answer: water in the lungs. But the human truth? That was murkier, deeper, full of currents the autopsy couldn't measure. The river took Mr. Park's life, but the people on the bank, they took his chance to be saved. The autopsy report was a period at the end of a sentence, but the questions it left unanswered, they screamed like an alarm that nobody heard. Why didn't they hear him? Why didn't they see him? Why didn't they move? The autopsy didn't say, and the 5 people who know aren't talking. The river flowed on. The police filed their report, accidental drowning. Case closed. But for the people involved, their story was just beginning, and it was a story written in silence, suspicion and cold, hard cash. First, the money. The life insurance payout cleared quickly, faster than grief. It seemed, over $1 million, landed right in the bank account of Mrs. Park, the wife who watched her husband die without lifting a finger, the wife who answered police questions with unsettling calm. While Mr. Park was buried, his wife was suddenly rich, free. The boyfriends she relied on, their futures looked a lot more secure. That policy wasn't just a safety net. It was a golden parachute, and she pulled the cord. Then, the vanishing act. The group scattered like leaves in a storm. The wife refused every interview request, every media appearance, every chance to explain, to grieve publicly, to defend herself against the rising tide of whispers. She just disappeared behind walls of silence and lawyers. Boyfriend 1, the volatile one gone, deleted social media, changed his number, vanished from his usual haunts. Like smoke, boyfriend 2, the quiet one even quieter, slipped away without a trace. No goodbye, nothing. The friends, largely silent, avoided the spotlight. One stayed visible, trying to maintain a normal life. But the shadow of the river followed them. But silence from the players? That just made the public roar louder. True crime forums exploded. News comment sections filled with rage. The whispers weren't whispers anymore. They were shouts. Why won't the wife talk? What is she hiding? Why did both boyfriends vanish? Guilty conscience. 5 people saw a man drown and did nothing? How is that possible? Calm water. Chest deep. $1 million. Wake up. People. It wasn't an accident. It was a paycheck. The official accident ruling felt like a slap in the face. People looked at the facts, the impossible drowning in safe water, the perfectly matching, rehearsed stories, the wife's chilling calm, the $1 million motive landing in her lap, the jealous, financially dependent boyfriends standing right there, the sudden, total silence from everyone involved. It stank. It stank of lies. It stank of something dark. The public didn't just doubt the official story. They rejected it, utterly. And then the confession. not to murder, to something almost worse. One of the friends, months later, talking privately to someone they trusted. The words spilled out, heavy with a truth they couldn't hold back anymore. We all saw him go under. A pause. We saw him struggling. Another pause. Longer. We thought he was joking. Let that sink in. A man is drowning, gasping for air, fighting for his life. His wife sees it. Her two lovers see it. Their friends see it. And their reaction? He must be joking, playing around, faking it, having a laugh. Not one of them thought. Maybe he needs help. Not one thought. That looks real. Not one thought. I should check. 5 pairs of eyes watched a life end and dismissed it as a prank. Was it willful ignorance? A convenient excuse they agreed on later? Or genuine, monstrous indifference? Did the wife see her husband dying and genuinely think, he's fooling around? Did boyfriend 1, volatile and jealous, watch his rival struggle and think, good joke, buddy? Did the quiet, calculating boyfriend 2 observe the drowning and file it away as not his problem? The joking line wasn't just a confession of inaction. It was a confession of mindset. It revealed the chilling atmosphere before he drowned. An atmosphere where his distress wasn't taken seriously, where his life wasn't valued enough to warrant a second glance, where 5 people could watch a man die and assume it was entertainment. So here we are. No arrests, no trial, no justice, just a closed police file gathering dust. A widow living comfortably on blood money. 2 boyfriends vanished into thin air. Friends haunted by what they saw and didn't do. And a public screaming into the void. This was no accident. The river in Gapyeong still flows, calm and clear on the surface. But dive deeper? The water is dark, full of unanswered questions, full of a silence that screams guilt. 5 people watched a man drown. They thought he was joking. They collected the money. They walked away. The only thing that drowned that day was the truth. And it never came up for air. We've dived deep into the Gapyeong River. We've felt the calm water, heard the silence, seen the eerie calm of the wife, counted the $1 million, felt the weight of jealousy, and listened to that chilling confession. We thought he was joking. Now it's time to surface. Time to ask the question that's been bubbling under this story from the start. What really happened to Mr. Park? Let's lay out the facts one last time. The undeniable truths: Mr. Park drowned. The autopsy proved it. Water filled his lungs. He drowned in calm, chest-deep water. Water so gentle, investigators called a silent, sudden drowning there impossible. 5 people were right there. His wife, her 2 lovers, their friends, meters away. None of them reacted in time. They watched him struggle silently, pulled him out too late. Their stories matched perfectly, too perfectly, like a script. The wife was eerily calm, while others panicked. She was detached, collected. She got a $1 million life insurance payout. Immediately, 3 people stood to lose everything if he lived. His wife and her boyfriends depended on him financially. Jealousy simmered. One witness later admitted, they all saw him go under and thought he was joking. No physical evidence of violence. No bruises. No drugs. Nothing under his nails. So, the $1 million question, accident or murder? The case for accident. Maybe it was just horrific. Stupid luck. Maybe Mr. Park had a sudden medical issue. A cramp. A dizzy spell. Something invisible that made him panic silently. Maybe the group genuinely didn't realize he was in real trouble. Drowning isn't always dramatic. Maybe they did think he was joking. A stupid, fatal misunderstanding. Maybe the matching stories weren't rehearsed lies, just shared shock. Trauma makes memories blur together. Maybe the wife's calm was shock. Numbness. People process grief in weird ways. The insurance money? Unfortunate timing. A cruel coincidence. No bruises. No drugs. Proof there was no attack. Just water. Bad luck. And tragic inaction. In this version, it's a heartbreaking accident. A lesson in paying attention. A reminder that drowning is silent. A failure to act. Not a plot to kill. The case for murder. But then, the whispers. The currents pulling you towards something darker. The water was too calm. Drowning silently there stretches belief. 5 people too close not to see. 5 stories too identical not to be planned. The wife's calm too unsettling. Her rush for the money too convenient. The motive too obvious. 3 people freed and enriched by one man's death. The vanishing boyfriends? Guilty consciences. The joking confession? A slip. revealing their callous disregard or a cover story cracking. How easy would it be? A quick, unseen push under the water, a hand holding him down for just seconds. No marks, just water inhaled, or simply standing by, watching him struggle, knowing help wouldn't come, letting nature take its course. In this version, it's a perfect crime, murder by river, motive, opportunity, and an alibi built on 5 silent witnesses and a death certificate that said accident. Here's what we know for sure. A man died surrounded by people who benefited enormously from his death. There's no evidence anyone held him down, no proof of a push, no smoking gun, but there's also no evidence of innocence, no believable explanation for the silence, the inaction, the chilling calm, the perfectly aligned stories. The river isn't talking. It flows on, keeping its secrets. The witnesses aren't talking. The wife hides behind silence. The boyfriend's vanished. The friends avoid the past. The police closed the case. Accident. File shut. But you've heard the story. You've felt the impossible physics of that calm water. You've seen the million-dollar motive land in the lap of the watching wife. You've heard the boyfriend's jealous need. You've cringed at the callous words. We thought he was joking. So now it's your turn. Your verdict. Look into the dark water of Gapyeong and ask yourself, was this a cruel, random twist of fate? A horrible accident misunderstood by flawed, selfish people? Or was it something more sinister? A murder disguised as a holiday tragedy? A killing made possible by 5 pairs of watching eyes and 5 closed mouths? What does your gut tell you? That the autopsy tells the whole story? Or that the silence of 5 people speaks louder than any coroner's report? That $1 million is just sad timing? Or that it's the price tag on a man's life? That they truly thought he was joking? Or that it's the most chilling alibi of all? There's no judge here, no jury, just you, and the facts, and the feeling in your stomach that won't let go. Gapyeong wasn't just a river. It was a stage, and the performance was flawless. Or was it? The truth might be buried with Mr. Park. But the suspicion, the doubt, it's alive, and it demands an answer. So what's yours? Hit like if this case chilled you. Subscribe if you want more real mysteries that blur the line between accident and evil. And crucially, comment below. Tell us your verdict. Accident or murder? Let's see where the truth lands in the court of public opinion.